So she likes me. I see it. And like, okay, I like you too. Let's talk. And I like her. And then nothing. And then I get to like hour 23 and I extend it for another 24 hours and still don't hear anything from her. It's incredibly frustrating. Like, why did you bother liking me in the first place? Of course, as a man, it's very appealing to be that 40-year-old playboy. Like, just to kind of get back into your 20s, right? Date all the beautiful women in town. It sounds sexier than it actually is. I had multiple conversations going on with multiple women at the same time, and I kind of forgot why I was so excited about this one. And I went on the date, and we sit down, and she says to me, she goes, "All right, I got something that I've been dying to tell you."
Welcome to the Match Artist Podcast. Today we have James. He's a recent client that Jason shot with, and we're going to chat with him to see how things are going. Welcome, James.
Thanks, I'll be back next.
It's been fun because a lot of times we'll do dog photos for our clients, not as a way to lie, but just to get more matches. And so Jason will bring guys over to shoot with my two dogs, and James came over for that. And yeah, now we're friends. So asked him to come on the podcast to see how things are going, talk a little bit about the experience. And yeah, when did you do your
Ooh,
shoot?
it's probably 6 weeks ago now. So not that long ago. I'm still pretty fresh experience in my memory. Yeah.
And you're new to Texas?
I'm new to Texas, moved here in February. Wanted to get my life in order here before I really started dating. It's kind of a lot goes into picking your life up and hitting the reset button on life and restarting, 2,000 miles away from home. So I wanted to really kind of make sure everything was settled here. My career was focused, put my new place together before I really get out there in the dating world. So I think that probably did the shoot maybe even a couple months ago at this point. And then I kind of put it on pause for a little bit. I did a little bit of traveling, and then I came back and I, turned on the apps a few weeks ago.
Yeah, what brought you to Texas? What was the reason?
I had a great opportunity to hit the reset button on life, you could say. It's a great place to have my career. I'm in new construction home sales, and there's a heck of a lot of that going on here, much better than in Boston, where I'm from, where there's very little building going on. So this is where I wanted to be. I broke up with a long relationship and had to sell the house. So there's really nothing keeping me there other than family. And I can always fly back for a few days too. So I had a friend here that kind of got me hooked into kind of the social scene. I've made a lot of friends like you kind of along the way. And it's been the best thing I ever did. In fact, I knew it was going to work out this well the whole time. I wasn't even focused on dating after I broke up with my ex. Just want to get the house as beautiful as possible for the sale. I just knew that I had to be here, and it's been even better than I had hoped it would be.
So after the breakup, you were kind of mentally checked out? Like or checked out as in you're ready to start something new, move a new
I
place,
mean,
or it took some
I
time?
was heartbroken of the loss of my life there. It really, sure, the relationship, but also like I loved my house. I'm a very family oriented guy. I love that I could go see my family, that quickly. But I was very focused on moving here. I knew that I had a much better life awaiting me here with a fresh start in Texas than I did back home in Massachusetts. The housing's so astronomically high there. For what I would get for the amount of money I'm paying now here in Austin for rent, you can't even compare the two. So I just knew I had a better life here. There's a lot more going on here. This is a great place to be single. So I was very excited about it the whole time, but I honestly just knew I had to be here, and I'd done my research. I visited several times before I actually moved, and I didn't really want anything keeping me there. So, and I was focused on getting my roof done, remodeling a bathroom, fresh paint on the walls, like everything I needed to do to get the maximum amount of money possible when I sold my house.
Sure. So when you got here, you knew it was gonna work out, but when was that like confirmation? The moment where you're like, I know this is the right decision. Is it the first Lone Star beer that you had? Is it the cowboy boots they gave you
Yeah,
at the
but
border?
the
Or
first Lone Star beer I had was with you last week, and that's actually now I'm drinking them again. I love them. It's just so much to love about Texas, and it's so much more my scene. But I visited here. The breakup happened in October, so I knew I had to make a life change. I had to sell the house. I visited here in November, and I really came here to reconnect with my friend who's been living here for 15 years. But also, it was important for me to visit my future colleagues and get their insights as to how things function here in Texas, how much money everybody's making, whether the bosses are cool or not, right? And I had such a great time. I just remember how open everybody is here. It's very different from Boston, where we're kind of famously more abrasive and guarded, whereas everybody here just was happy to chat with you over the food you got at the bar. I thought that was really kind of striking.
Is that not as common for,
No,
like,
no,
your
not at
local
all.
bars?
Not at all. No, we're cold and miserable there for the most part. No, we kind of stick to ourselves. The whole Northeast is kind of famous from Philadelphia to Boston, and just kind of being a different culture. And that's probably the cold might have something to do with it. But just came here and I really hit it off with so many people, and then I went home, went back to work, came here in December for interviews, and I was living here in mid February, and it was so far it's the best thing I ever did.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
So in terms of, there's the breakup and the healing from that. Good city to be single, I would agree. Like Austin's fantastic for single guys, single gals too. Were you intending like I'm gonna go down there and I'm just gonna do a bunch of online dating? What like did you kind of have the thought of like what am I gonna do? Like clearly the career, but you wanted to
You know,
date.
as far as dating goes, I'm 41 years old. All right. So and I've been in a 10-year long relationship. So of course, as a man, it's very appealing to be that 40-year-old playboy, like just to kind of get back into your 20s, right? Date all the beautiful women in town. But at the same time, I did kind of spend 10 years with the wrong woman. We had a great thing. She wasn't the wrong woman. We just weren't right for each other. Um, and I'd like to have a family. I'd rather find one good thing rather than have a little bit of every good thing around. That's just the way that I personally am. That's what was after, is just kinda trying to find, just a good woman rather than, going through, the headaches and craziness and, yes, good times of dating. So my focus was always kind of on, finding something good to kinda make up for lost time rather than trying to relive my 20s. If that makes any sense, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I would say that, yeah, a lot of the guys, and we'll obviously get to your story in a bit, but the guys that they want to relive their 20s, the 40s and 50 somethings, it's like it's great. Like go out there and have some experiences. Maybe you've been in a marriage for a while
Mhm.
and you're just seeing what dating is like, but usually it seems like it kind of creeps back up where like you kind of have your fun for a little bit, you use the photos, but then it's like you end up meeting somebody a little bit closer to your age where it's a
Yeah.
little bit more
It
real
I
connection.
found that it's appealing to guys that have been kinda tied down for a while, but ultimately, there's a lot of headache that goes into dating. A lot of wasted time. It's a heck of a lot of wasted resources. I mean, all the dates you gotta pay for, and then, of course, all those kinda awkward conversations that I hate having about why I don't wanna see you again, right? So, like I said, it sounds sexier than it actually is. To me, anyway, like I said, I would rather have a couple of dates and then find someone good rather than, spend tens of thousands of dollars, trying to pursue, multiple women in Austin, right? So, work well for me.
Yeah, the multiple women thing like that. I get the whole abundance mentality and that's something I'll tell the guys that we work with to not like focus too hard, but yeah, we are trying to find one person for each guy that we work with. Yeah, it's nicer if you're starting with that mentality. So, in terms of online dating, had you done that before or is this, were you on the apps before you worked with us or
I was on the apps, Tinder 1.0, long time ago,
what
right?
year was that?
Oh god, 2012 probably?
Okay.
Yeah, long time ago, like, when Tinder was really new and really fresh, not what I feel it's become,
Is that where you met your
now.
ex?
No. No, I just met her, traditionally at a bar, right?
What?
The old romantic way,
That's
I met her at a bar. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say that as like the like hyping up online dating is like there's so many people that I mean a lot of bar founded relationships can end up working really well and you
Yeah.
spend 50 years together, but
But
it's like
Yeah. When you're a transplant like me, though, and you're not in your 20s and you're going out every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, when you're new to a new city like me, I was solely reliant on online dating. It was extremely important to me. And that's one of the reasons why, I went with a match artist with my photos and my curation of my entire brand and profile online because it's exactly what I needed. I don't have people to go out with all the time. So my presence in online dating was super important for me to be able to find what I was looking for, preferably as soon as possible, and worked out really well so far.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you, when was the moment where you were like, you're starting to think on more online dating, and it's like, what was the process of, getting the photos or realizing like, hey, I need an update.
Well, I mean, I had unsuccessful week or 2 with my own photos and my terribly written prompts,
You have to send me
and
some of
I
those.
yeah,
Prefer
we
not
can
to,
but
put them up there.
I will. Yeah, I had a very completely different from my experience after using the Match Artist, but I had a, pretty unsuccessful week or 2 by using, my own photos and my own poorly written prompts. So I kinda think that there was kinda 2 experiences. There was the experience on my own, and then there was the kind of more professional experience after I used the Match Artist.
Did you go on any dates from the old photos
No.
before the match artist?
No, I didn't. I didn't, and I probably got, geez, 10%, 20% of the likes that I ended up getting once I, had professional photos and professionally written prompts to help me as well. Yeah, very different experiences for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're Googling around, you read that you need better photos? Is that, I mean, that's the story I've heard so many times is
Yeah.
like, What am I doing wrong? Hey, you need better photos." Was that kinda your, like,
Absolutely. That was one of the things I don't like the way that I look in photos. So I never was very confident about any of the photos that I had. I didn't have the, textbook bad photo, which is, I've heard so many women talk about this, but the guy in his car, sunglasses on, selfie. Because there's a ton of those. But I didn't really have any photos of me being able to, actually doing anything. And, since the breakup, I've gotten in much better shape and lost a considerable amount of weight as well too. So I didn't have anything that was like really represented who I am now and what I'm trying to market, on a successful dating experience. So I needed new photos for a multitude of reasons. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, tell me about the shoot experience. You worked with Jason.
All right, Jason, that was great. I was nervous about it. I was nervous about it. Part of me, wanted to kind of weasel my way out of it. I was very excited about it until it was actually like time. And then I was nervous about it. And, I met Jason, and Jason and I just immediately clicked. Kind of a similar age, similar kind of dating background and everything. And first portion of it was facial expression coaching, right? This is all like very new to me. It was very, I've never been in front of a camera before, so the facial expression coaching was extremely valuable, but also kind of felt a little awkward. I wasn't quite getting my smirks and everything perfectly right. And as I've told you, what's noticeable is that I could actually see my confidence evolving throughout the shoot. It started off as something that I felt very shy about, never being in front of the camera before, and then I can tell where it ended, and you can see that I'm actually just really having fun. And like I genuinely I was enjoying that by the end of it. I almost didn't want it to end, and I look back at it now. I told people about it. It was just such a cool life experience. Sure, the purpose of it was to date and everything, but just as something I've done in my life, I've actually had like a multi-hour, multi-location, thorough photo shoot, and I have these photos that are mine. I can use them for multiple things. LinkedIn, like I said, I didn't like the way I looked in any of my photos before.
What didn't you like about the photos you've had in the past?
I never felt like they look like the person that I see in the mirror. And I know that the person we see in the mirror isn't always the person that other people see. And I kinda like the guy I see in the mirror. I have never seen a picture of me that I like. And after hundreds of photos of Match Artists, I mean, I have probably 100 photos that, like, I like. Like, I kinda struggle to pick a good photo. This is coming from a guy who never liked the way he looked in photos, literally ever. And I was struggling to pick out, it's like Danny would kinda curate some and say, "Hey, yeah, you should use these ones." But like, "Yeah, no, I think I look better in that one too." So, like I said, it was a little bit of, it was a little challenging to decide which ones to go
Do
with.
you think it was the expressions, or like what was new about the match artist photos that distinguished from like the old
The
ones?
quality of the photography is not what you get on a cell phone, right? It's not what your aunt takes at a birthday party, right? It's like professionally done. The quality of photography, the facial expression coaching was huge, and knowing how to actually take the picture from the correct angle. Typically when people take pictures of you, it's dead on. But it wasn't. There's a lot more creation with a professional photographer than what you're able to get on your own doing those horrible selfies or having friends of yours take pictures of you. The professionalism, I think, is what ultimately led to, those ultra high quality photos that I really needed and, I had a lot of success with.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in terms of like, seems like there is some theme of apprehension. It's like with a lot of us, but like what you were talking about with like not turning on the dating apps right away. So it's like you worked with the match artist. It's like you got these photos you love, uh first photos you've ever loved of yourself. And then you're like, Oh, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm really curious about that because I'm like, yeah, I was like, dude, get on the apps. Like you gotta get on there. It's gonna be great. It's like don't because I think this would be helpful for some of the guys.
I did do that, and I've learned a lot about myself, recently since this kind of breakup kinda caused a lot of introspection as to, like, how you can improve personally and make yourself better for the next person, but, I've kinda Schrodinger's box things, right? So it's a lot more comfortable for me to think that cat is still alive than to actually check the box and find that that cat might be dead if you're familiar with Schrodinger's box. So, yeah, I like to think I had these great photos, I'm gonna have so much success, but it's also kind of scary in a way of the possible failure that I might experience if, and maybe everybody doesn't they don't like my photos as much as I do. Right. So I did take some time. I did a little bit of traveling, went back to Boston for a few days too. But then once my, kind of schedule was clear, and I was ready to go, I turned on the machines and it was it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, well, you gotta obviously elaborate on that.
Yeah, it was overwhelming. It was, overwhelmingly successful, completely different from what I had experienced before when I tried it on my own, for that, unsuccessful couple of weeks. I did Hinge, I did Bumble, and I did Tinder. Those apps are very different from one another. I find, Tinder is a little bit more trashy, like just kind of your hookup app. Hinge is where like the Instagram models are, and they're locked behind a paywall. So if you want to talk to them, you got to buy those roses and solicit them and, good luck getting a response. Typically that quality of woman is going to be inundated with, other guys. Bumble, however, was the one, my favorite. Bumble I had the most success on. And I was getting like dozens of likes a day. And Bumble they were much more proactive with trying to find a serious relationship, I found, rather than unlike Hinge and Tinder. And I've heard that Tinder is kind of like a self-esteem booster for a lot of women that don't actually want to date. They just want to see how many guys like them, but they don't
It's
actually
ego
use
boost,
Tinder
yeah.
for dating. Bumble was my favorite by far. Yeah. Some annoying things about Bumble, but Bumble was my favorite.
What was annoying?
A woman likes me I like you too, and that wasn't that common. But a woman likes me, but she has her settings set behind I have to talk to you first. So she likes me, I see it, and like, okay, I like you too, let's talk. And I like her, and then nothing. And then I get to like hour 23, and I extend it for another 24 hours and still don't hear anything from her. It's incredibly frustrating. Like, why did you bother liking me in the first place? Um,
Well, this is where anybody watching this would say, "Welcome to online dating."
yeah, there were a lot.
That's the experience,
There were a lot of great conversations that went nowhere. I did just had one pop up. There was actually a woman that I actually really liked on Hinge. I sent her the rose and everything, and we started chatting. We had a fantastic conversation, just very, very flowing, vibing really well. We didn't draw her out all night like you're not supposed to, but just things are going extremely well. Um, and then I reached out to her to say, like, let's see if we get along as well in person as we did, as we do on text. Can I give you my number? We should meet up sometime. Didn't hear anything for a week. She might have been seeing other guys at the time and that
Probably
didn't work
was.
out,
Yeah.
probably. But then she reaches out to me and it's like, hey, yeah, I'd love to see, here's my number. Right, like, now I've kinda moved on at that point.
Whenever
So
there's a lull,
these are kind
it's
of the
like,
frustrations that I'm talking about is that it's and that's one reason why I kinda wanted to get this behind me and find something good rather than go through the headaches I was talking about. It just wasted time, wasted money, wasted focus on
mhm,
kinda conversations that go nowhere.
yeah.
So yeah, that was one of the frustrating experiences for sure.
You've alluded to uh, what you're looking for, and that definitely something more on the serious side. But just a straightforward question is like, what do you want right now? Like in terms of dating?
What do I want?
Yeah, what do you want?
Phew. Good question. I mean, I think that, I want what generally all men want, right? Which is just a inspiring, caring, nurturing, kind of feminine woman to kind of be that kind of source of peace in our, chaotic lives. Just that kind of source of comfort that's also, we can laugh and have fun together and enjoy each other's company, not somebody who's, going to make my life more challenging or difficult that I have to handle or something like that. Yeah.
And that was the ex who's kind of felt a little bit like that.
No, not at all, actually. I don't have a bad word to say about her.
Yeah,
We just
I wasn't
kinda
trying to
we
get you
no, no,
to.
I understand. No, we just kinda just grew apart. We didn't have a lot of common interests. We didn't have children, so we didn't have that glue that kind of keeps people together. It's actually kind of a good thing because it made breaking up and going in separate ways a heck of a lot easier than it does for a lot of other people. They just truly get stuck in in a loveless relationship where it's just not working anymore. It was kind of a slow breakup, was ultimately amicable. But yeah, no, we just kind of did everything really keeping us together. The love just kind of fizzled,
Mhm.
as sadly it does with some couples over enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of if you found, I think you, also mentioned that you've been seeing a certain woman a couple of times,
There's
few times so
yeah.
far. But yeah, in terms of what you're looking for, I mean, are you looking to settle back down sort of thing? Like, I'm not asking for an exact timeline, but it's like seems like you're past the, like, you've gotten some of the fun dates in so far from what I've heard from you, and you definitely want something more serious.
Yeah, I have. I had a few of those fun dates, but like I said, I'm doing what women call dating with intention. I've seen that quite a bit actually. So I am kind of looking for something a bit more substantive, something a bit more meaningful that I can kind of make up for lost time with. Like I said, I'm looking more. I'm more looking for trying to make up for lost time in the last 10 years and maybe finding a woman I could have a family with rather than, trying to relive my 20s, which are my 20s. That's in my past. That's not exactly what I'm trying to do anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you value most in a relationship?
Oh,
Or like multiple things. Obviously, we all value a number of things.
peace and inspiration. Just that woman that really makes you excited to see her, excited to spend time with her, that you get along with really well. It's that peace I'm talking about. Like, no matter how bad your day was, you can always kind of go to her as a source of comfort. Not cry about your day, but she just always makes life a little bit better. She just makes you get out of bed a little quicker in the morning. That kind of thing. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is amazing having the right person. I definitely have that with my wife, and yeah, the whole getting out of bed quicker. I'm like, if I wake up early in the morning, it's kind of that, like, no question. It's like get up because I want to grind. I want to keep building what we're doing because
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, a certain aspect is for me, but everything I'm doing is for like my family,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely inspiring. So like I said, it's been a good little while since I met her. See what happens with this one. But it's good enough to kind of put the apps on pause. So I
Yeah.
did
Well, tell me about that. I mean, I have a little bit of context outside of this
I
podcast.
turned on the apps and I got a ton of likes. My favorite thing is my analogy about job searching because it's exactly like looking for jobs online. And what the match artist does is they essentially curate your resume to help you stand out from the competition as much as possible. But anybody who's ever, looked for a job online, you put your resume out there, okay, and you're going to get solicited from lots of companies. Most of the companies going to could be proactive from after you generally tend to be more overqualified for those, as I found. The ones that are liking me, most of them are not, not what I'm looking for at all. Few of them are, but I found that the ones that are more in demand and more desirable, right? Your Googles and your Teslas, but it's just getting a ton of applicants, and they're not being proactive with actually swiping left and right. They're reading through all the applicants, and then they're finding, the ones that pique their interest. And it's much like a job search, right? If you get the interest of the company, they're going to contact you, and you open that line of communication. And a couple of things are going to happen. You're going to have a phone interview. You could have a FaceTime interview, and in my experience, I found that to be much more common with older women like late 30s, early 40s. They want to talk to you on the phone or have a FaceTime interview with you first.
Older
Um,
one.
Older women. And from the younger ones, 20s and 30s, they are much more like invite you for an immediate kind of in-person interview. And that's what I consider the first date to be. I would never, suckers spend hundreds of dollars on dinners the first day. They're probably seeing six other guys at the same time. I consider that first date to be more like an interview. We're just going to go out for like a casual drink. If you don't drink, we'll have a casual cup of coffee, maybe go for a walk. But I want to see if I get along with you as well in person as we did by texting. And then if that goes well, then we'll actually have a first date and move forward from there. Or as I say, like that, then you get the job, right? If you make it to that first date after the interview, you get the job. But the job, you just got hired, right? You just had the first date, so you're still kind of running on that trial basis. So you're going to be reevaluated, make sure you're a good fit for this position, in 90 days. In our case with dates, it's more like in just a couple of dates to see if it's a good fit. But the
Yeah.
correlation between online dating and, online job searching is uncanny. I mean, there's so many similarities there. I believe it's the perfect analogy for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great analogy. So what was your strategy in terms of you got the photos and you're talking about that first date, not even first date, but that first meeting is the interview. Like what are you looking for? What kind of questions are you asking?
Great question. I mean, you're trying to listen 75% of the time. That can be very challenging if you're speaking with a woman that isn't the most outgoing person, as a lot of men and women are not. I happen to be an expressive talker, as you know. So it's much easier for me to fill in those awkward silences and talk. Not talking necessarily about myself, but asking questions than it is for some other people. So it can be challenging to carry a conversation with somebody who's not that, forward with their thoughts and what they're looking for. So I've had challenging dates, and I've had dates that were, where the conversation just flowed, and it was very simple. But generally, try to keep it, small talk. I don't want to ask anything, definitely, you know, never taught my brother as a funny joke, and I actually used this, and it actually went over really well. It's like, okay, so do you want do you want to talk about religion, politics, or exes? Obviously, you avoid those topics, but it's a very funny kind of joke to kind of break the ice.
Did you use
In the
that?
beginning was I actually did. It killed. It actually went over really well. I got a really gorgeous laugh out of her on that one. And of course, we know that's kind of topics that you tend to stay around. So it's generally just kind of get to know you questions like where you from, how long you been here, my background can produce a lot of conversation, fortunately, being the new guy from Boston, I can be like, "Ooh, what's Boston like? What do you think of Austin? Have you been here? Have you been there?" So it's pretty easy for me to carry a conversation, just given the nature of my personality and with my background. And I made that a lot easier to kind of break ice with women online too. The one that I'm, seeing, I wouldn't say exclusively, but the one that I'm exclusively focused on at the moment, her prompt was, I was debating me about anything, and it was, "The pizza here is terrible." And I was like, "You're absolutely right. I moved here from Boston. The pizza here is in fact terrible." And she kind of was we just small talk for, like, just a couple of back and forths, and I was like, "Alright, well, I guess we know where the first date spot is. We're going to Home Slice on South Congress." So it's kind of that easy, but yeah, I'm happen to be fortunate with my, background of being the new guy in town. It's actually pretty easy for me to have conversation on that topic and for them to ask about that. So nothing too deep, just keep it kinda, high level, get to know you kinda things. You don't wanna get too into, anything that might make the conversation uncomfortable. Although you do ultimately wanna learn those things and find those red flags, but in the very beginning, it's a very, simple first interview kind of
Yeah.
talk, right?
So when I was dating, I am certainly an oversharer. My goal is how deep can I get with somebody in the smallest amount of time, and that is not always conducive and not usually conducive for dating. And I know you from the times we've hung out, I know you to be a deep person that likes really sharing about how you feel and how you think about, self-awareness. Like, did you find that difficult to not go deep with some of those things that you maybe would have liked to or like I would, but
I did not, and I have the self-awareness to know it's kind of I kinda consider a flaw of mine. I can get a little bit too open and talkative. Um But with this, I was a little bit more on my toes, a little bit sharper with these kind of things. I never found myself saying anything that I cringed about the next day of like, "Ah, shit, I haven't said that." Again, I, I'm in sales. I talk for a living, and I'm just kind of use that skill to be able to kind of fill in those holes. But I wasn't expressing more than I should have, at least definitely not on those kind of first dates. But yeah, I'm the same as you, Nick. I also can, be a super sharer like that.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a blessing and a curse for sure. You can get to know I mean, I found that it works a lot better with other dudes. You know, it's like, let's share everything about our lived experience and go really deep. And yeah, it's led to a lot of very quick and deep friendships, but it doesn't always work with women in that capacity.
Problem I'm having right now is that I found a good one. I got a really good thing going on right now, and it's trying to hold back that kind of excitement. You know, it's like I think it was a Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused or something, but a great line was like, "You can never let them know how much you like them,
Yeah.
because once you do, they'll drop you like that."
So you guys went to Home Slice, right? Like, well, let's jump into it. Yeah, wait, tell me about that day. You guys
All right.
hate pizza here,
Yeah.
outside of mine that you'll eat in a few minutes, and
Yeah,
you'll
looking forward to
hopefully
it.
enjoy it.
No, it was actually, dude, it was awesome, actually. We started talking about the pizza and everything, and she was going away for the weekend. So there was basically like 5 or 6 days from when we had this conversation and kinda set the date until the actual date. And I had multiple conversations going on with multiple women at the same time, and I kinda forgot why I was so excited about this one. And I went on the date and, she's kinda waiting for me there in the parking lot as I'm pulling in, and, she was far more beautiful in person than her pictures were. And, we went into Home Slice, sat there, and she was very, very excited to meet me. And I found, not because I'm particularly special, but I found that within, we walked a block to Home Slice, small talking about her weekend away. Sit down at the bar, and I'm from a city called Waltham, Massachusetts, which is about 8 miles outside of the city of Boston. You can see the skyline and up the hills, right? And we sit down, and she says to me, she goes, "All right, I got something that I've been dying to tell you." I was like, "What?" She says, "I graduated high school in Rentham, Massachusetts," which is like half an hour south of me.
Wow.
And I went to college in Newport, Rhode Island, which is my favorite summer hangout spot. So, like, immediately we just clicked, just kinda knew the area, had a lot to talk about. Conversation just flowed. It wasn't that
She
kind of like
waited to tell you that.
totally. Yeah, she did. She did, and it was actually great because she kinda had me at Rentham in a way, kinda separated her from everybody else, so that commonality, that kinda comfort of like, "Oh, she kinda knows about me, where I'm from, what the culture's like there." So that was great, and then we had pizza there, which is it was okay. It was alright. We had pizza there, and then we went, up the street to one restaurant and then to another restaurant, and it's actually kind of a psychological trick that actually pickup artists use, and I can't remember the name of it, but actually, if you go to multiple locations on the same night, it feels like you're going to multiple dates. So, Home Slice was, like, date number 1, and then we stopped into another one, I think it was called Mayday, on our way to the Soco Hotel, for
Okay.
cocktails. So that was, like, date number 2, and then so by the time we get to Soco Hotel, we're basically on kinda like date number 3. It's much more comfortable, we've experienced different things, so, yeah, it was, just kind of like the perfect date. Right, yeah, super well, no awkwardness, immediately just kinda clicked, touch barrier was broken within a minute. It was great 'cause, we sat at the bar. I always prefer to sit at the bar. It's a lot easier to kinda break that touch barrier with a casual kinda, touch on the knee or the arm or something, and for her to do the same thing as well. So you can kinda get through the kinda awkwardness if you're clicking, a lot easier than you can if she's sitting 6 feet away from you the other side of a restaurant booth. That
Yeah.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So, that's why I always try to sit at a bar because if, she's into me and I'm into her, we can kind of, start to develop a connection, through touch rather than making it awkward. It makes the goodbye a lot less awkward, when you have to
'Cause you've already,
when you have to
yeah,
because we've kinda been casually, like, touching each other a bit throughout the night.
sure.
Yeah.
So what was the I mean, this seems like it's something fairly serious. Like, what was the feeling of, yeah, I mean, this is the first woman, you gone on a couple dates, it's like, it's fun, but this is like, okay, this is feels like something, like, might be real, right? For the first time in 10 years? Something like
Yeah, it
that?
does. It does. Honest man, I don't remember feeling this way about, the one I was with for 10 years when I met her this quickly.
Hmm.
She's looking for what I'm looking for, and I am what she's looking for, and she's what I'm looking for. It was interesting too, to talk about how useful Match Artist was I asked her during that first date at the pizza place. I was like, "So what is it you liked about me? Like, what attracted you to me?" And she said, you present yourself and your profile presents itself as a man who knows what he wants and has his shit together. Like, your photos were quality, and I liked what your prompts were. And that's exactly what she said, and that's the value of match artists, being able to present yourself as a man of value that women are attracted to, and they can sense that you are because the quality of the photos. A man that invests that in himself and his brand, um, has his priorities straight, is much more focused on finding, a woman than a guy who just is taking, terrible selfies in his car with his sunglasses on. So it really, really worked out, and that was, what she had said to me was that, your profile, presents itself as somebody who's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
And you told her about the photos?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When was
I
that?
so I told her about the photos, she loved it. In fact, I actually had, several women compliment my photos, and even had one reach out to me and say, "Who did your photos?" I think I told you about this. "Who did your photos?" And, like, I love your photos, they're freshly done, like, "Who did your photos?" And I told them I wasn't particularly interested in this one, and she wasn't really come on to me, she seemed just genuinely interested about the photos, honest to God. This is one of my very first ones, by the way. And I was like, "Oh god, is this just gonna be women complimenting my photos and not me?" But she did actually reach out and, God, what did she say? Like, "Props to the photographer, like, great photos." And that was it. That was it. Never nothing else. I wasn't that into her. She clearly wasn't into me, but she was very into my photos. And I said, match artist in Austin, you know, if you have any guy friends and need photos, strongly recommend using them. It was a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
experience. So I like plugged you to somebody actually on the apps that generally like wasn't even interested in me, but just wanted to reach out and compliment me on the quality of my photography.
And I mean, it is you too. Like it's your expressions. It's, what we're trying to do with our shoots. Like, sure, we'll coach on expressions,
Yeah.
but those are the same expressions you're using when you're having fun with buddies at a bar or when you're confidently, like chatting with a woman or something.
Yeah.
So it's like it is you. We're just trying to bring out those expressions and that part of you and actually capture it for the first time. Maybe it's never been captured before.
Yeah, that was the value of the facial expression coaching with Jason, was kind of teaching you how to express yourself as you are in these photos. I think without that, it would have been a very different experience because people are shy in front of the camera, never been in front of a camera before, but he had professional advice as to how to, he would actually kind of take me through, all right, smile. I want you to just smirk. I want you to smile. I want you to squint your eyes. I want you to do multiple different things. Like, okay, now this is how you naturally do it. I want you to do this when I ask you to do this and try to keep that your face composed in that manner, which is truly you. You're not doing things that aren't you, but just kind of he's very helpful with helping you identify your best version of you so that you could present that to, the women that you're trying to attract.
I mean, yeah, it really is huge. Like being able to show confidence, joy, mystery. Those are kind of my main three that I'm going through when I'm shooting with somebody. But most photographers, I mean, you haven't done photos before, but we've had guys that they'll go through several photographers because like everyone has a camera now.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's a photographer, and if you're doing it for your business, like, oh, let's capitalize on online dating. And some of the shoots are decent, but it's like it's mostly relying on like guys that already know what to do for photos, and it you're not really pulling out the actual personality. They're just gonna say, "Hey, look natural," or like, it's
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's not interesting. Like you're just gonna the difference between somebody, sitting here like this versus like the coaching that we do.
Yeah.
I mean, the first version I was just, the wide eyes. It's like that's what you're gonna
Yeah.
get with your average
There
photographer.
there's a huge difference between what your friend that's a girl that's trying to help you, will take of you with her iPhone than what you can get after, like, professional coaching with, like, an actual real camera in multiple locations. Yeah, it was, like, the best thing I ever did. It was the best thing that I did as far as an investment in myself, and women recognize that you made that investment. It really sets me apart from everybody else. You actually kinda demonstrate some value there, is that you're a guy with his shit together enough and to take this seriously enough, and frankly, have a little bit of extra resources to be able to make this kind of investment into themselves rather than somebody who's just taking horrible selfies of themselves. So they recognized that. Like I said, I literally was complimented on that. I was complimented on that by, the one that I froze the apps for, that I'm kind of exclusively focused on at the moment. And so, yeah, women absolutely recognize a man of value with great photos because they see that, okay, this guy has the resources to invest in this. He's taking this seriously enough to invest in this. I want to know a little bit more about that. It automatically bumps you up the scale a couple of notches because they recognize the quality and the status and the value in you of having, actually, focused and invested in yourself.
That's really good. In terms of like, let's say you were not thinking about the matches that you got that, you did bring us on to shoot photos so that you would get matches, but just some of the other benefits or, something related to like not related to the matches. Like the photography and how that, you know, made you feel or act or,
And the benefits of the photography is that, um, even if I never you online dating again, and it was only a couple of weeks to kind of find the one, I still have hundreds of photos of me and some like great photos of me. So I can not only use them for online dating, but I can use them for marketing my personal brand and my career. It's far more, they're an asset of mine. It's far more than just something that I need to use for online dating and then it's done. Like I said, like I don't like any photo I've ever seen of myself until these. So I have all these photos that are great that I can use for Instagram and LinkedIn and just like anything. I have just more than I know what to do with that I like, and I never liked any of them.
Yeah, I think that's something that every guy should do at one point in their life. Even if they're I've thought about starting some sort of an offshoot or it's like I see the value from all these shoots that I've done and at this point the thousands of shoots that we've done with the match artists that just the how people feel after getting photos done and having photos they actually like. The times where I've been shooting photos of a, wealthy 57-year-old guy that when he saw those first photos that he just kinda did a little, like, jig. That took me a bit to get used to because it's like, "Wait, you've never seen yourself like this before?" Like
It's such an incredible relief. It was, like, truly relief. I actually remembered clearly where I was when Jason turned the camera around on me for the first time. I was like, "Hey, ever like that one?" I was like, "Oh my god, I do too." And I never like pictures of me. Like, that's actually a really good picture. And then I
because 'cause
get
you're
all the
skeptical up until that
oh,
point, you
totally.
know?
Because like I said, like, I just don't like who I ever see in pictures, and he turned it around and showed it to me, and it's like, "Wow, actually, that's how I feel that I am when I look in the mirror," and I kinda like that guy. But just never seen pictures that I like, so, yeah, it's really exciting. Gives you a lot of confidence when it comes to actually getting onto online dating. Like, I knew that I had really tight prompts. I knew that I had very attractive prompts to generate conversation and invite conversation, but I also knew that I had really great photos of myself to help show who I am, what I'm into. Definitely, yeah, I never even really thought about it like this, but it really truly gives you a lot of confidence to have that package of not only do you have great photos, you also have like really well written prompts as well that are very, conversation inducing.
That confidence is huge, like, I just think of myself and how I always joke that my clients always had better photos than I did when I was dating. I mean, I did meet my wife online from some photos that my co-founder took of me, but yeah, over the past year and a half, I've lost maybe 60, 70 pounds, and just some of those first times where my wife just took a photo of me, with the pro camera, like showing the jawline, and I'm still using those same techniques that I always have with the facial expressions, but it's just seeing that where yeah, most of our guys, they're fit, they care about their appearance, and it's like that was true recently for me for the first time where I saw that. It's like, "Oh, I like that." It's like, it's just like you sit up a little taller, you walk a little bit, a little bit taller, it's more exciting when you live life a little bit more confident outside of the dating if you know that in your mind it's like, "Hey, I'm thinking of that photo. I do look good in photos. I do look good in real life."
Yeah, that's actually how I felt too, is that once I had the photos and online and with the success that I had on that, it just generally boosted my confidence. in life. Like, oh, okay, because I was in a committed relationship for a decade. So I'm kind of coming back into this world the first time, and I had a fair amount of success. And I think much in part of the quality of the photos that I had too. So definitely confidence boosting, not only in my confidence of being able to, attract dates online, but just my value as a person. I'm like, oh, okay, I still got it.
Oh, that's amazing. So, yeah, back to this gal that you're seeing. Yeah, tell me about kind of how that unfolded. You had the first date. That's what we've heard about so far. What was next?
And the first date was great. I said we went to multiple locations, clicked immediately. By the end of the third date, or the oh Jesus, see, I think that way. By the end of the third location on the first date, it felt like we had already gone through date three. We just clicked immediately.
And
Um,
she felt that way too,
dude,
I'm assuming?
I was smitten, man. I could not fall asleep that night. I was pumped. I was really pumped. I was like, oh wow, I like this one. And I truly had trouble falling asleep that night. I was kind of a wreck the next day because I was excited, man. I couldn't that's how I get. But it was great, and we were just we've kind of been in touch since that first date. Not in a weird way. I'm not a naive 25-year-old. Like it just when something clicks and when something works. So we've just kind of been in touch. I didn't have to do the whole don't call her for 3 days thing. Don't let her know how much you like her kind of thing. But also you don't claim your love for her on the first date because that's weird. But just we clicked so well on that first date. Conversation and communication, being open was just natural through there, and then we had date number 2, which also was multiple locations.
Where'd you go?
We actually, what's great about these Texas girls is that moved here and I got really into, shooting guns, and, I've actually told a few that on a few dates, and every time I mention that, they light up. They like that. Tell that to a girl in Massachusetts. Yeah, right. She knows, "No, thank you." They're gonna be scared of that.
Blocking to
But
report you on.
oh, okay, this is a man. Likes to shoot guns. You can protect them. I think it has a lot to do with it.
Is that
Yep.
part of your reasoning for getting into the guns?
Was that
To protect a woman, or you
I
wanted to do it?
shooting targets is fun. Shooting targets is fun. I guess that's a nice, side effect of that. It's a nice little perk. But I've definitely gone into that. It's my new hobby. It's kinda who I am, right? So I'd be disingenuous of myself to not share that. Like I said, it's actually gone over very well every time we share that. So we actually went shooting. She's a good Texas girl. She showed up with her ears, her eyes, and 2 pistols of their own, and, I showed up with mine, and she loved the way that I handle and shoot my rifle, which is cool. This is a
She
guy
said
like,
that?
I hadn't really fired a bullet up until 3 weeks ago, and she's like, "Yeah, it's just the way that confidence of how I handle and shoot my rifle." I guess it was a huge turn on for her, I guess, too. So, yeah,
Was she a good shot?
it is okay. It is okay. From close distance, she is, or yeah.
Are you gonna share this episode with
I
her?
had a
If
lot of
things
fun. Yeah,
are
she's gonna see this, like, honey, I'm sorry, but should keep your thumbs together and stuff like that, but
Well, honey,
we did kinda discuss
that's
that.
that's good sign.
Yeah, it is, but it's also I call my grandmother honey too. So it's kind of a term of endearment for me. But no, it was awesome, then went from there and went to get sushi, and then after that, we went back to my house, but, not to do anything we shouldn't be doing, but just, I got cats. Girls love cats.
They do?
The range is 5 minutes range in sushi is 5 minutes away from my house, and it's like, "Yeah, you can come over, we'll have a glass of wine, you can see how I live." But honestly, I wanted to get her back to my place because I wanted to talk to her. Trust me, I wanna find her red flags because that first date and everything after that was just too good.
Yeah.
Like, "Alright, what is wrong with this girl? I have to figure it out." Can't really understand her and all the places we went to on South Congress, just kinda loud, and it's kind of first date kinda thing, and I wasn't trying to remember anything she was saying to me because, like, she could have been nothing but a first date, but I had to be sharp with my wit and my answers. So I was much more focused on what am I going to say rather than trying to remember how to pronounce her last name. Okay, which I did get out of her, but yeah. So I just wanted to kinda isolate her and get to know her genuinely. Like, I wasn't trying to, yeah, get her into my bed. It's just kind of a good place to go. So that's kinda date, 4. Date 4 is shooting, date 5 is sushi, date 6 is, a bottle of chilled Pinot and conversation with a couple of adorable fluffy cats. Like, it's generally, like,
You
kind of
love these
that
cats.
it. I do love my cats, but yes. Um, but
I'm
yeah,
glad you're the only person where it's worked out with
dude, I can't be fuck you. Cats rule.
They're cute. I like when they purr, but it is our general advice
But
that
here's the thing.
stay away from it for
I
photos.
rescued these strays.
Okay, that
Okay,
makes it
so
a better story.
trust me, dude, that story works. It's a true story, but yes, I did rescue 2, like, stray 6-week-old kittens with blue eyes, like, and they're my favorite things in the world. So, yeah, it does actually work. But again, that wasn't the goal. It's really just kinda like, "Alright, I gotta figure out what's wrong with you because too much is right." But, I'm intrigued and interested in her enough to pause the apps, and that's the important thing.
When did that happen? When did you pause it?
After the second date.
Second
After
date.
the second
Okay.
one, like I said, like, I know what I'm after. Like, I know this. I'm not some love-struck 22-year-old. Like, she checks the boxes, and I check her boxes, and I see that reflected in her eyes too. So, we do seem to be what we're looking for. And could be nothing. She could just be this woman that I met in June. But she has earned my undivided attention. I'm not exclusively dating her, she's not my girlfriend. However, I don't wanna be carrying on half a dozen other conversations with a half a dozen other women, and I have to keep them all straight, remember, what kind of dogs they have and, what they like to do. It's much easier to just hit the pause button for a week. Let me kind of focus on this one and see if this is worth ultimately deleting the apps for. As that's, I think, ultimately the goal
Did
is
she
to
do the same? Have
yeah,
you guys talked about
actually,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, we've paused the apps?"
Yeah, we're exclusively seeing each other, although we're not exclusively dating, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So,
You
like,
haven't had the, like, define the
yeah,
relationship. What is
I don't have
the
a right to be upset if she's on a date with a guy tonight, but, like, we are kind of exclusively focused on each other, you could say.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's a really good thing. It's still pretty early, but I'm fairly confident I got a pretty good thing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't seem worried at all that she might be on a date right now, even if she could be, right?
She could be. And she's certainly within her right to do that,
Yeah,
but I'm not. I just, again, I know that she is just as excited about me, if not more excited about me than I am about her. I can feel that vibe. I see that in her eyes. Like, I know that we're kind of there. So, yeah, but again, she can do what she wants and I can do what I want. And what I wanted to do was just focus on this one. I could be talking to a dozen other women right now on Bubble and Hinge and good ones too. But it's just the time, the effort, and the resources involved in carrying on conversations. Because I had those nights, man. When I got going, oh my God, I was literally texting with like half a dozen, actually probably more than that, at literally the same time at night. Like, I didn't get to watch television shows or play video games anymore, which is what I do in my downtime. Honest to God, I didn't get to do that because my time from like dinner time to bedtime
yeah.
was on the apps. And like, oh, I heard from Liz. I heard from Caitlin. I heard from Iris. I heard from this one, this one, this one. So I had to kind of basically I couldn't do anything because I had to maintain all of these conversations
But it
with
was
all these women.
fun or
It was
exhausting?
it was fun because it was like, oh, I'm single now. Look at all these great women. But after a while, I wouldn't say it became exhausting, but it almost became like overwhelming. It became difficult to manage and overwhelming. And then, of course, you have the highs of, oh, I matched with this one, and then she messaged me. And then you have those ones like the lows of like the things are going so well, and then she fell off. And then she comes back a week later. So it's not as sexy as you think it would be, like being the 40-year-old playboy. There's a lot of headache and struggle and wasted time and money involved in dating. And, as sexy as that is to kind of, be that 40-year-old playboy and revisit your 20s where you're just trying to, smash your way through the new city. It can be overwhelming, it can be a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of money.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I personally, to me, I'd rather find a good, wholesome, Texas woman that might want to start a family someday rather than just kind of getting through all the crazy girls, all the dates that go nowhere, all the conversations that go nowhere. We romanticize this thought, especially guys in committed relationships of like, oh my God, it's so great to be single. Like, if I was single, I'd be with this girl, this girl, but you kind of forget about like all the challenge and the headache of actually dating and how difficult it can be and unfulfilling.
Yeah.
Sure, you have those moments of glory for sure, and that's the best part, that's what we romanticize, but you forget about all those kinda nights where it doesn't work out, the conversations that go to nowhere, the wasted money, sexless 5th date,
Yeah.
like, just all that time and energy and money spent, for ultimately seems to be so little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to make it as easy as possible for the guys we work with, but
Mhm.
I mean, I wouldn't go back, never. It's exhausting, it's expensive. Even if you're going on budget dates, it still adds up.
It's sexy, and it's sexy to the committed man. It was very
Yeah.
sexy to me when things won't work out with my ex and I. It was extremely sexy. Like, "Oh, great, I'm gonna get back into shape, like, I'm going to just be fighting women off with the stick. You'd think it's going to be like that, and then you cut out of that relationship, and you're like, actually, like, that was actually really great, and the single part, can be very cannot is not all the grass is not always greener. Might not be as sexy as you actually think it is.
But at
But some
least you're still fighting women off with a stick.
if I turn the app back on, I could. I had a successful experience on them, and I truly think I truly believe that much of that success was because the quality of my profile. It worked really well for me. But I could turn it on. She knows I could turn it on. She loves the fact that I turned or paused it. I didn't turn it off. I paused it, which means that I'm focused on you, but you could still lose me. So, you know, let's have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when are you seeing her next?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
What are you doing?
She's coming over and cooking me dinner.
She's coming over and cooking you
Yeah,
dinner.
she knows the way to a man's heart, which
Oh,
is
man.
make me food. They want a man to provide and protect.
Yeah.
It's kind of this caveman stuff, right?
Mhm.
Provide and protect. I bring home, right? I kill the buffalo. I bring it home. You cook it for me. And that's a symbiotic, relationship. We reciprocally value to one another, right? So, yes, that and the fact that I am of an Italian heritage. She also is of Italian heritage. She claims that she can make a white or red sauce from scratch. So, I very much want to know
She's making
how
you
her cooking
pasta
is.
tomorrow or what
Yeah,
she
she is,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I can't think of, like, a better date. Like, "Oh, wait, you know how to cook too? Like, nice." I would love you know, a woman wants a man who's gonna take out the trash. I gotta mow the lawn. I gotta shovel the snow, do all those kind of man jobs, and that's expected, but just cooking a meal every once in a while or all the time is just kinda like the best thing that can be done for me. Really kind of an act of love to be able to, make me a meal. Makes me happy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be, I'm looking forward to it.
It's funny because, there's certain aspects of my relationship with my wife where we follow some of the traditional gender roles where it's like I do a lot of woodworking and welding and kind of the, tough manly kind of stuff. But when it comes to the food, it's like I cook most of the food and she loves mowing the lawn. I can mow the lawn, I'm capable of that, but it's kinda a little flip-flop there, and so and we both really enjoy it. It's like I love food, I love cooking, and it's doesn't always have to be that way,
It
but
reciprocates,
yeah.
and that's what's important is that there is a give and a take, So, yeah, I think it's a great exchange of acts of love to one another is, she helps maintain the home on the outside. She likes to mow the lawn, and you cook. Women love a man can cook. I can only cook a handful of dishes. You, on the other hand, are this guy is an incredible at-home chef, by the way. Can't we gotta wrap this up so we can eat. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But it's one of the things that I'm attracted to about her is that she understands and respects the gender roles, and she's looking for a serious relationship. But she's in her late 20s and she wants to be a good wife to a good man. And not
Mhm.
in a weird way.
Yeah.
Not in a weird way. She has a great career. She has her shit together. She has money of her own. It's not like that. But she just recognizes the fact that like my clock is ticking. I'm talking about a biological clock. I'm just talking about like kind of her value on the sexual marketplace, as they say in the dating scene, right? It's like I'm in the
I mean,
prime of
sooner
my
than later,
life
yeah.
and my hot girl summers are over and I want to just be a wife and a loving man in a committed relationship, which I think is ultimately what kind of all of us are intrinsically after in nature is to kind of pair bond and couple up. So she's looking for what I have to offer, which is, a man with his shit together who also is looking for a wife, right? So we were a really, really great match for each other at this time. Again, hasn't been that long. I'm really trying to find those red flags. That's actually kind of the goal. My goal right now is like, what is wrong with her? Because she says all the right things.
It's too good to be true kinda thing, right?
Yeah, you do have that kind of fear of like, all right, what is it about hers?
I had the same
Does she
thing
have
with
that?
Allie where I was just like, I met her and it was so amazing and we started hanging out a bunch and yeah, it felt too good to be true. It's like how could somebody not have dated much or not have met somebody?
Yeah.
It felt like it was too perfect and now we are almost 5 years later and still haven't found any red flags. Like, yeah.
You inspire me and give me hope, Nick, 'cause, I'm trying to find them. And, something else that's important in a woman, you asked me what I look for is, just a woman that makes you feel good about yourself, right?
Mhm.
The kind of, like, respect, not a subservience, but just a respect that makes you feel good about you, that looks at me like I'm special, that, like, kinda appreciates who I am, and, like, I can see that with the way that she looks at me. Again, for the 3rd time now, and I'm saying this maybe as an act I'm trying to reassure myself here, but, like, I think I've been through enough. I have enough experience and, I'm pretty dumb, but wisdom to know what I'm looking for and how to identify that, and I definitely know what I'm looking for, and I can see the way that she looks at me, the way she touches me, the way she acts with me, the way our conversations go, that it's not just me being naive and head over heels and, like, excited about something new, but it's actually, like, there's a genuine, like, really strong immediate connection with the 2 of us. And I had a great relationship with a wonderful woman for 10 years, and not 8 or 9 of them were awesome. I do not remember feeling this way about her. So, yeah, it's going well. Look forward to bringing her over here for dinner and introduce the 2
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it, and, yeah, it'll be fun to just have you come back on the podcast semi-frequently to hear an update, and, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe my wife and I will be shooting, photos of you guys you 2 together soon enough.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it took me like 2 weeks on the apps. I had 2 weeks of, like, nothing with my own photos and everything, and then with professional photos and well-written prompts with the assistance of Danny. It took me just a couple of weeks to find a woman that was what I was looking for, and a woman that was, uh, good enough, or what I was looking for, that to inspire me to actually freeze the app so I could focus on that one. So just like a couple of weeks. So very different experience from my own personal experience, and, it was definitely worth it. Because one of the things that I thought to myself was, would I spend this money on finding, to use the match artist services? Ultimately, this my decision came down to, would I spend this money to find what I'm looking for? And I thought to myself, you know what? I would. I would. I think that it's that important to me that, yeah, I would do that. And it took me a couple of weeks. So, I hope that I get to delete the apps soon. But for now, they're just on pause. I'm sure I'll follow up with you and let you know, what the next phase is. Again, could be just some girl that I was talking to in the month of June. We could be talking about how I met my wife. Who knows? It's an exciting things about life, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. This is super exciting to hear. It's been really fun to see because I'm not shooting as much anymore. I mean, I'm not outside of the couples things, couples photos. I'm not shooting at all right now, and it's mostly our photographers around the U.S. And so it's been really cool to see you at the actual shoot when you came over and just seeing keeping tabs on the success, and it's always fun because I love getting to chat with clients. So, what's your advice about anything you want to guys that are trying to date, struggling to date?
Um,
What are your thoughts?
Take your profile very seriously. It's your brand. It's how you market yourself. It is, in fact, your resume, and you want it to be as tight and ready as possible to get the job that you're trying to get, right? So definitely, get good photography and make sure that your prompts are tight and attractive and not cringy, something that attracts conversation, something that seems very inviting. And something that also, helps convey who you actually are. And that was what I found with my experience with Danny, which I told you about. Um, Other two, don't get too excited, temper your expectations, right? I was very excited when I started with, oh, I really like this one. And I get really excited and I hear nothing. Or something would start going somewhere and then it would just kind of fizzle out. And, I think that you should take every opportunity seriously. I wasn't that excited about the one that I'm kind of exclusively seeing right now. So sometimes things just click and work a lot better in person than they do, via text. And don't text too long. Eventually, you got to cut to it. You got to ask for that date. And the way that I do it, or the way that that worked very well for me, was it kind of made it very clear that like it wasn't a date. And I don't think any of you should be taking anybody on a date. They're probably seeing six other guys. Don't spend $500 on a dinner on her. Take her out for one, meet maximum of two drinks, half an hour to 2 hours worth of conversation, depending on how it goes, and then move on from there to taking it to the next level, which is actually like, let's go on a date, do some activities, have a nice dinner, get to know each other, do that thing. But I think that first meeting is more of an interview. And I've always said it was like an interview because it is. You're interviewing each other to see if you get along as well in person as you did by text, and that's it. And if you do click and interview well, then you get the job and you go on to date number one. But just like a job, you're on kind of a trial program in the very beginning. And yeah, if you don't make it to the review, you're going to lose the job. The correlations between this and job searching are really uncanny if you actually think about it and unpack it. And I've done that much better in other conversations I've had about it, but I think I got the point across that it is very much like that. So any guy who's out there who's ever done like online job searching, it's the same thing. And you want to be going out there with yourself in the best possible light because you truly only get one chance to make a good first impression. And if your profile is sloppy with cringy prompts, and you might not even realize they're cringy, but poorly written prompts that don't invite conversation and don't tell a little bit about who you are, but also leave a little mystery there to generate conversation. And of course, having solid, well done, good quality photos, I mean, you're not going to get the job that you're looking for. So, definitely want to take the steps and invest in yourselves. And women will recognize that as they did with me and complimented me. They recognize that women want a man of value with some status, like this stuff together. It doesn't mean you make $1 million a year, but just that you have a little bit of status, be able to show them a good time, and give them that security that women ultimately want, which is safety. And that safety is like, we're able to do more things, right? I don't need to worry about things with this guy. So you can convey that by having some really good quality photos. And like I said, the one that I'm dating, she said that she kind of went after me because I look like a guy who had his shit together. And, that may or may not be true, but, my photos definitely helped convey that message. And it's been a very successful experience for me so far. So, yeah, that's about it for now. I'm sure more things will come to me as soon as the camera's off.
We'll see an update in a few weeks.
Yeah,
Or
we'll do that.
yeah, see how things are
But
going.
yeah,
Thanks for listening to the Match Artist podcast. Hopefully this was interesting and valuable to you. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys on this very podcast in the future talking about your success and talking about, yeah, figuring out your dating life. So we're gonna go make some pizza and thanks for watching.